Hello, I'm Mint, and today I wanted to make a video that's a reply to an article I found. I found this article from watching a video about Claudia Boylan, and she made a response to the article, but I felt it made me so upset. I felt I had to make a video also and say what I think. So the article, already the title of it makes me kind of cringe. It's 10 signs your mental illness is made up for attention. Wow. It's just like, why would anyone do that even? Accusing people of faking mental illness, it's just from the start, it does so much damage for people who actually are mentally ill, because you already think that, oh, why am I depressed, this is so stupid, and you know, you're already questioning yourself, and it's very, very just really hard for people with depression because people already question them all the time. So let me read from the article. In the age of the internet, more and more teenagers are looking to gain popularity. And it's easy these days, simply show some cleavage on Instagram or pretend you're pansexual with depression and anxiety, even though you don't know what that means. This just sounds like bullshit kids today argument. Depression is very real and it affects people of all ages, and it always has. It's so much more common than people think. Like, a lot of people struggle with depression, and it's all ages and from any class, and it's just always been a thing that's real. And he continues, it's good to point out these idiots as they make a mockery of real mental illness that people have to go through every day. Yes it is! Like you are making a mockery of real mental illness, and it needs to be pointed out, and that's why I'm making this video. I mean, just... wow. It's just like, you don't understand how much damage articles like this makes to people who are actually depressed. And it's so upsetting. So let me continue with the article. And he hasn't even started on his 10 points at this now. So, these are the obvious signs that even if you do struggle with some anxiety, depression, whatever, you're exaggerating a decent part of it all for the attention and the excuses that it provides you. If you see someone acting like this, please call them out. Oh, so even if people actually have anxiety and depression, they are still faking it? Just for attention? Most people with depression try to hide it as much as they can because people don't want to really hang out with people who have depression because they don't want to deal with it. Like, that's how it is most of the time. That it's just easier to hide it because people just avoid you because they don't really know what to say or how to act. So saying that it gives you attention is just not right. Okay, now we get to the first actual point, so get ready for some ableist bullshit. So, your definition of illness changed all the time. One day, depression means that you can't get out of bed or tie your shoes or pay bills. The next, it means you want to stay at home and watch movies. The next, it's not that serious. Your definition changed all the time, depending on context and how sick you really want to look. Actually, that's how real depression works. Some days you feel like shit and some days you're a bit better. It's important to try to get out and get better. Some days I can barely get out of bed, and other days I'm out traveling and meeting friends and doing stuff. And it's really important to encourage this kind of behavior because that's how people get better. So, do you mean that to be depressed and to deserve any help and attention you have to stay in bed crying all day? I mean, are you encouraging people to do that? Because, wow. If depressed people actually get the strength to do something, you should encourage it and not go like, haha, you are not really depressed because you are out doing stuff. How dare you? That doesn't even make any sense, you know? You want people to get better, right? So, point number 2. You are constantly sharing shit about it on social media. Every time someone writes a hashtag powerful hashtag essay on whatever website about their struggles with upper middle class anxiety, you share it. You share how to date someone with blank. You share 7 things only people with OCD know. It's your whole identity, and you constantly remind people that you are sick and brave and in a permanent struggle against the world. With bullshit articles like this one going around, people really need to share proper information about mental illness, and it's really good for people who have mental illness to see that they're not alone in their struggles, and it's also good for people who have friends and family that are depressed or have anxiety or other problems, that they also get the right information to know that, oh, this behavior doesn't mean that they dislike you, it just means they're depressed, and know how to deal with and how to help people with depression. Because family and friends that's what helps you, that's what gets you out of your depression. So it's really important for them to understand that you need the help you need, and that they know how to act around you to make it better and not make it worse. So sharing articles about actual information about mental illness is so important, at least to combat this kind of articles which just made up bullshit. So let's go to the next point. You list it in your bios. If your bio announces from the get-go that you have depression before you even mention, I don't know, a job or a hobby or an accomplishment, you need help. And not in the Lexapro department, in the you have nothing interesting to say about yourself beside a disorder department. A lot of people with mental disabilities feel like they can never accomplish something, and seeing other people who have the same disability as you do things that you want to do and have friends and be accomplished really makes you feel like, wow, maybe I one day can feel better and do this also. So it's just very important that people know that they're not alone. And also, with the job and hobby, if you have a real chronic depression, some people, you don't feel well enough to even want to do anything. And people could keep asking you, oh, what's your job? And you have to keep saying, oh, I can't work because I'm depressed. So it's better just to get it out there from the get-go. And people kind of look for other people that they can relate with, that, oh, I want to follow this person online because they relate to my problems, and I can see somebody else doing well while still having the issues that I have. Let's move on to the next point. You use it to be an asshole to other people. If you don't call someone back, it's not because phones give you anxiety. It's because you're an inconsiderate asshole. If you don't show up to a friend's birthday party, it's not because you're bad in social situations. It's because you're an inconsiderate asshole. If you take your stress out on your significant other constantly for no reason, it's not because you're depressed, it's because you're an inconsiderate asshole. Mental illness, although convenient, is not a catch-all reason to treat people like shit. People with social phobias, anxiety, depression, autism, if they might not get back to you because they don't have the energy and the strength to do so. And that doesn't mean that they don't care about you, it doesn't mean that they don't want to see you, it's just that they have to take care of themselves. You don't expect somebody with a physical illness to still show up at your birthday party, but if somebody has a mental illness, why do we expect this of them? I mean, they are still sick, and the most important thing is that they, eat, drink water, sleep, take care of themselves so they stay alive. But I think it's kind of selfish to expect them to come to your party when they barely can do that. And it's just, you don't understand all the energy it takes to do something like that. And also the people might fear that you're going to get angry at them for not answering earlier, and that deters them from getting back to you later. So don't get upset with people for being sick. If you get angry at someone for being sick, then you're the inconsiderate asshole. Mental illness is not convenient, and I don't even see how you can think that. So, next point. When it's convenient, your illness takes a backseat, unless something really fun is coming up and you manage to get it together, or you want to impress a date by pretending that you're really active and outgoing and happy, then you're fine. Again, it's really not convenient in any way, and you're saying that you don't want people to talk about them being mentally ill, but now you say if they're hiding it, then they're not mentally ill. I know that personally I pull myself together to meet people and to go to events, and then I come back home and I sleep for days and I'm really exhausted because it takes a lot of energy. And especially when you meet new people, you don't want to be, like as you said, you don't want to be like the first thing you say, oh, I'm depressed. But that, if you don't do that now, that's wrong. I mean, I try to be upfront about, like, because I am on sick leave for my depression, so it kind of makes sense, like, if people are asking, oh, what do you do during the days, and it's like, yeah, I'm on sick leave. But I try to not, like, make it a problem, just like, this is this thing, it's not me, it's kind of a part that's attached to me, and I try my best to ignore it. It's important to get out and meet people, or else you're never gonna get better. So, let's move on. You think it's controversial to talk about. If you think it's still a controversial thing to announce to your Facebook friends that you struggle with bouts of anxiety, you're either living under a rock or looking to be a martyr. It's not controversial anymore. Everyone is open about their struggles with mental illness and posting stuff about, you shouldn't be ashamed of your depression, girlfriend. It's just redundant. If you need to announce it, fine, but don't pretend like you're being brave by saying you're sad sometimes. You have been shaming people for talking about their mental illness and shaming them for trying their best to hide it, and now you say that it's perfectly normal to be open about it? Your views contradict themselves. Obviously, there is still a need to say that it's okay and not... Obviously, there's still a need to say that it's okay to not always be okay. So many people hide their problems because they don't want to seem like attention seekers, or that people will say that they're faking it, like the writer of this does. It leads to isolation, and they don't get the help they need. With how many shares this article has, you have probably contributed to the already high suicide rate, and that's on you. That's why talking about it is so important. But to you, it's more important for people not to be as annoying than to save lives. Okay, so the next point. Even though your relationships have a clear pattern, you don't accept that they might be your fault. It's never you, it's always your string of completely unique exes who all just happen to be terrible people and just couldn't accommodate your #illness. Ugh, next time you'll date someone who gets you. A lot of people with mental illness become targets for bad people because they are too mentally weak to get out of the situation. Who would choose to do this? That is just victim blaming. Abusive relationships is a serious thing, and denying, like, someone's experience with how their partner treated them is just... I don't know, how can you... I don't see how this has anything to do with mental illness even. I mean, if you really love someone, you should accommodate their illness. I mean, you have to deal with the good and the bad. If somebody's depressed, then sometimes they might not have the energy to do everything. They might not be able to go out every time you want to. But you just gotta stick to it and be there with that person so that they can someday feel better. Well, moving on to the next point. You constantly post baiting things so that people will ask what's wrong. It's been a bad day, not feeling good, ugh, I can't even. Yeah, you're posting those statuses because you want people to ask how you are, and you want to vent about it. But everyone has problems, and using the feel sorry for me card over and over again is incredibly irritating for everyone around you. Have you considered maybe why people are looking for attention? Maybe they're afraid of writing what's really wrong because they don't want people to think that they're just looking for attention, as you clearly stated that you think they do. So you just write, I'm not feeling great, so that somebody will ask you how you are, and then you can tell them what's wrong, because you don't want to impose it on somebody who doesn't really care or doesn't want to listen. So posting, I'm not feeling good, and somebody saying, okay, what's wrong? Then you have somebody that you know you can talk to. And it's good talking about it, it's good to vent. I mean, you have to. And yes, everybody has problems, and everybody needs to vent and talk about them. I don't understand why everybody has a problem, so then nobody has a problem. It's just, it doesn't really make any sense. For me, I've done my best to hide my problems because I don't want people to think that I'm a burden or irritating. And I think that has led to more problems than good. I mean, sure, it's good to like pull yourself together to go out and do stuff and like for your own sake, but not for other people. You know, I don't see why you think venting is a bad thing. It's a way of getting better and dealing with stuff. Next point. You're not really trying to get better. Maybe you take medication, maybe you're in therapy, but when it comes to behavior that you're doing over and again, you're not interested in doing the hard work that is required to overcome mentally ill behaviors. You're interested in talking about it and identifying as a person who has blank, but you're not interested in being better because that's no fun. Taking medication and going to therapy is hard work. It's not any fun. And like, I take really strong medication because without it, I lay in bed crying 24/7. And, you know, people still are like, oh, you shouldn't take medication, it's not good for you. And with this guy's logic, so since I'm taking medication, I am no longer laying in bed crying. Am I no longer then depressed and then I'm fine and then I'm just looking for attention? It just doesn't really make any sense. And according to you, if I try to talk about it, then I'm not really sick either because I'm just looking for attention, apparently. And if I try to hide it, then I'm not really sick either, according to you, because then I'm just conveniently not sick anymore. And it's just really frustrating because everything you say just contradicts itself, and this is just like shaming people with mental disabilities, and it's just ableist bullshit. You're basically saying that mental illness does not exist because according to your requirements, they are impossible and contradicting, so I guess nobody's really mentally ill. Everybody's just looking for attention. I mean, yeah, it's so much fun. I'm chronically depressed. I've been so most of my life because I got bullied for being autistic, because I grew up in a small town where being different isn't really okay. I've done everything I can to get better, but the best I can do at this point is just try my best to have a life even though I'm depressed. And you know, it's just really upsetting because, you know, people who are mentally ill, they don't want to be sick. That's ridiculous. How is that fun? Like, when you're depressed, like, sometimes you don't even feel like doing stuff that you actually like. I mean, when I'm worse, I don't even want to play video games or watch movies or anything. I just lay in bed. I don't want to do anything. How is that fun? Being this way is not fun, it's not convenient, and it doesn't even make you popular like this writer assumes. And I would not wish this upon anyone. And this last point is just kind of ridiculous because it's completely unrelated to the other ones, but I'll read it to you anyway. And finally, pansexuals, demisexuals, and other special snowflakes of the LGBT community. Although sexuality is not a mental illness, these people who have to be special snowflakes need to be called out more. It's demeaning to people who struggle with their sexuality, as it makes it seem like some kind of joke. You're either straight, bi, gay, or asexual in some cases. There is no need to make up your own label. Yeah, it's not mental illness, so I don't see how it's relevant. Since you made another post where you talk more about your views on pansexuals and demisexuals, I will talk about this more in that video, because this is just a whole nother can of worms. So we'll just leave that till later. So this is just like his ending statement that I still wanted to read to you. Mental illness is serious. If you have to pretend to be mentally ill to get likes, you are just an idiot. People like these take the stigma away from mental illness and make it seem trivial. have you ever considered that maybe these people actually need attention and they need help? And this kind of bullshit is not helping anyone. It's just really demeaning to people who deal with mental illness, because you're trying to say it is something that it's not, and clearly this is not something you know anything about. This is seriously damaging, and I hope you understand the lives lost because of this ableist and misinformed article, and that is just a horrible thought, and it just makes me really sad. Never be afraid to talk about your problems. Never be afraid to seek help. Depression is horrible, and I understand feeling like there's no way out and feeling like everything's really, really hard and it's too hard to get help. But that's just your depression talking, and you shouldn't listen to it. There are people out there that really care, and stay away from people who are like the writer of this article, because you don't need them in your life. Never stop spreading good information about mental illness and other problems like that, because it's just really important that people know how to help, because everybody knows somebody with mental illness. Everybody does. And maybe you yourself, you're struggling with it. And I just hope that don't listen to anything in this article. It's just really upsetting, and I hope people who read it can see through the bullshit, because it's really just so misinformed. Thank you for listening to my rant. I felt I had to say something about this because it is just really important for people to know that it's okay to want help, it's okay to want attention for it, because that's something that everybody needs. Thanks for watching. Bye.
And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye.